turned themselves in to Special Counsel Robert Mueller.
Both men went to the FBI offices in Washington, D.C. this morning. Here with more, political analyst Wendy Patrick. Wendy, good morning.
Good morning, Shelley.
All right, let's talk about this. This is all about the ongoing investigation into the Trump campaign, possible ties to Russia. We're still talking about it. Are you surprised that they were asked to turn themselves in?
First, I'm not surprised that Paul Manafort was the subject of the indictment that was announced last Friday. It's not a surprise because remember the pre-dawn no-knock raid that took place at his home over the summer. So clearly he was the target of investigation. They were gathering evidence even then. The fact that they chose that manner to execute a search warrant, that was very telling in and of itself. So he and his one-time business partner, Gates, not a surprise. But the bigger question, Shelley, is what does that have to do with the White House? That is, I can answer that in two ways. The first is that the White House or campaign activities are not mentioned anywhere in that 31-page, 12-count indictment. On the other hand, the span of time that is mentioned within that indictment would encompass some of the time that Manafort was working on Trump's campaign. So you could look at it either way. And obviously, as this case moves forward, we're going to learn more facts and circumstances that may give us a little more idea as to whether or not this has anything to do with the Trump administration.
So first of all, people were shocked, but not shocked when this happened. They couldn't wait for Monday to see what was going to happen. But from a legal standpoint, what does a special counsel need to have on these guys to have them turn themselves in?
Well, the turning themselves in part is not unusual when you have white-collar offenders. Obviously, if somebody committed murder, you're going to see that person in custody, maybe no bail. But many white-collar offenders are allowed to turn themselves in. They're not considered flight risks. They're not considered dangerous in terms of can they stay out in the community. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to face significant time in prison, no matter what kind of a white-collar offense it is, if it's prison eligible once there's a conviction. But in terms of between now and then, these investigations move slowly. And the fact that they were allowed to turn themselves in, they'll now be arraigned today. We'll learn more about the charges. And then they're going to talk about whether they can stay out on their own recognizance and just have this investigation continue. Unfortunately, these do not move as quickly as the general public would like. So I just want to caution everybody, we're not going to be in trial next month to see if these two men are guilty or not guilty, although plea negotiations will certainly start perhaps as early as today if they haven't already.
Okay, but this will then bring us to the question, and a lot of people thinking about this as well. How does this bring us closer to the investigation to President Trump? Will we hear anything?
Well, Shelley, we heard something already this morning, not from the president himself, but from somebody from the White House saying this has, quote, zero to do with the White House. Now, no doubt, Sarah Huckabee Sanders is going to give a press briefing today. She will have more information. This is clearly something that is going to be addressed. It probably is going to be the topic of the entire briefing. But given the preview of the remarks that we heard already this morning, that will likely be the theme, at least at this point, that as what we know so far, it does not have anything to do directly with the Trump administration or the Trump campaign, even more importantly.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about something else, but then this just came in. Well, we're just learning this. Former Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos has pleaded guilty to making false statements to the FBI. What do you glean from that?
Well, you know, that it's a separate charge, and making false statements, obviously, that's a crime in and of itself. But one of the things that the administration is going to suggest is they did not know that any of this was going on. Therefore, they can't be conspirators. You can't be guilty by association unless there's something that ties you to the crime. And that's the open question. As you'll notice that the way some of the charges are framed in the indictment, it talks about conspiracy with others. Who are those others? That's what's going to be most important in determining the nexus between those activities and the Trump campaign.
Okay, I was curious when the charges came in. Conspiracy versus the United States sounded really serious.
It does. Lots of counts sound very serious. Most of these counts, just sort of in a nutshell to paraphrase, have to do with financial dealings, tax evasion, failing to register as a foreign agent, and all of those are the kinds of charges that this indictment it contains right now. But I got to tell you, we don't have enough time to get into this, but there was a statute of limitations issue that may have forced the hand of the government to be able to charge these when they did before tomorrow when it runs. This indictment might be amended, could be any time, to allege more charges.
Oh, we love the law because it's all about words and what kind of words you use, because I hear conspiracy versus the U.S. and some people are asking me, is that treason? Of like, it's different things. Legally, it's just different things. Wendy Patrick, thank goodness for you.
Thank you. Always happy to weigh in on this.
All right. Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks.
Still ahead here on Fox 5, why an Apple engineer was fired after he brought his daughter to work.
Plus, the very unusual thing Southwest is adding to more of their flights.
And how would